So I am with the authors Cecilia and Jason Hilkey, the authors of The Perfectly Imperfect Family. And I was just telling Jason and Cecilia why I have this version of the book, which is called an author copy, is because every time I have a conversation about this book, with whoever I'm having a conversation with, they want the book so much that I reach into my bag and I hand them my copy. And I've handed 5 copies away. Now I have to order more because there's a number one international best-selling badge. Oh my God, that's impressive. On the cover of this book took off like nobody's business. And we're going to get to that when we talk a little bit about this book. But I want to introduce you to these two authors and I want to ask them a couple of questions, actually, like 5 questions about how this book came about. All right, but first, you guys, and you have to decide who's going to talk because I know when you're working with your partner, you always have to adjust who talks. What made you decide to write a book? And this came out, I think we started this book project at the end of December 2004. It came out in 2005. It came out in May of 2005. What made you guys decide that you were ready to write a book?
I think there are a few different inspirations. One of them is because we're in the parenting space and we know that there's not just one kind of bit of parenting information. There's not just one expert that's out there that has the best stuff. It's a bunch of different voices that we wanted to figure out a way to highlight all those different voices and give parents a variety of different folks that are out there that are up and coming voices, and let them have the experience of kind of a village. Or I actually think that this book is like a hug. It's like the reading about all these different experiences from different parenting experts and authors and speakers, and also even parents themselves, and realizing, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not like just some weirdo with my family struggling in my house or my apartment all by myself. Like these experiences that a lot of parents are having are very universal. So that was one goal, was to help parents. And then the other goal was that because we have a lot of parenting coaches and speakers in our audience, we wanted to put this book together and give them also a platform for jumping ahead in their business, uh, and increasing the size of their audience and doing whatever else they wanted to do, from using this as a springboard. So we saw the opportunity to create an anthology. Each parenting coach or each expert got a chapter, and then we put it all together, and we were able to help the parents and also help the parent coaches and the experts that were wanting to develop their business.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit more to that. We saw the value of having a book for credibility, and then again, what helped also is that it became a number one international bestseller. So that gave it more credibility. But the book for our business would allow for us to have somewhat of a platform as well and some credibility for us, even though we've been doing this for a while and we have a sizable audience. There's something about a book, especially in the parenting world, that just kind of gave that little bit of like, oh, they know something or they are something or whatever. And and part of our business also is, like Cecilia said, supporting professionals. And so we saw this as an opportunity to support professionals to also build the credibility that they have. And so the anthology worked really well for that, in that they could then use this as a way to start building their own credibility and building their own business and giving validity to what they do, and really getting out there and supporting families around the world.
Yeah. So I gotta say something. I just have to interrupt because it wouldn't be a normal conversation unless I were interrupting. So you guys know this better, I think, than most people. Whether you're writing a solo book or whether you are putting together a co-authored book, whether you are being the editors and collating and getting contributors for the book together, the decision to do that now, to make that happen now, is something that keeps getting pushed away and pushed away and pushed away. It's like, yeah, I know I want to do that. I know I'm going to get to do that. And the timing's not right. But there was something that made the timing right to do this. And we talked about, maybe doing a solo book. And then we talked about, I don't know. I think just for all the reasons that you guys just stated, putting together a co-authored book made more sense. But why was it the right time for you guys to do this?
Gosh, why was it the right time? I don't think it's ever the right time. It's like, is there ever a good time to have a baby? No. Is there ever a good time to start a business? No. So I think I don't know. So it's never going to be the right time. And so we just kind of went for it.
You guys are gutsy. Like I saw you make the decision, put the plan in place, put the deadline out, put out the email notifications and the ads or whatever we need to do to get the right pool of contributors to submit to the book. And you guys absolutely hit the ground running. What was your biggest fear about putting together a co-authored book versus writing the book on your own and having a solo book, for example?
Well, I want to say one of the things that probably took care of most of our biggest fears, and Jason could speak to this even more, is that we had you. That we had so many fears of like, how do we figure this thing out or that thing out or this other thing out? And you and your team had an answer to every single thing. And we could hit the ground running because we knew like whatever came up, like Ann's got it handled. And every question we had, everything that we were like, hey, can you do this? Or can your team do that? You said yes to like everything. So we felt totally taken care of during the whole process. And like Jason would have lost a lot more hair during this process if we hadn't had you. I don't even know if he would have agreed to do it in the first place if we hadn't had your team, because it was a totally new project for us. So anyway, getting back to what were our biggest fears? Do you want to speak to that?
Either way, I can
Yeah,
definitely
you
talk.
want to, what were your biggest fears?
That we weren't going to have you. I mean, that Cecilia just spoke to it. Like my biggest fear is like we know how to talk to our audience. We have a passionate audience. We know how to communicate with them.
We know how to
We know how to
create.
organize them.
Yeah.
We know how to put systems together to coordinate them. We do summits and online conferences, and we know how to do that. We've done a lot of those. So we know how to put it all together and
We
to
know how to create
organize.
parenting courses and we know how to coach parents, but we've never done a book.
I had no idea. And that's kind of my role would be like the one who actually implements these ideas and the operations of the business. And my biggest fear was like that I was going to have to figure out how to publish a book, which is like bonkers. And then also market it or, announce it and promote it. Those are my fears. And, again, working with you, it was so smooth and so taken care of that we would put what we needed together and hand it over to your team, and they would just take it and run with it and do
And make it
good
beautiful.
quality work that took care of our audience. And that's one of the things that I think I always have a fear when I'm working with someone else is that our audience, if they're going to be taken care of. And they were just so nurtured and taken care of by you and your team. And then when we went to promote it, they were taken care of because they learned how to promote it themselves. So it wasn't just about promoting the book, but they also went through an education. So they got way more out of this than I even realized they were going to get out of it. And I know it blew them away and it blew us away. But I think my biggest fear was, like we were going to not have, I was going to have to figure all this out. And I think my other fear was that it was going to turn out to be really bad. I was afraid, like, this isn't our content, right? Like we weren't writing all the words. This was us working with people that, we don't know them personally, but they're in our audience. And What was great is that the content turned out really, not just like the individual chapter turned out good, but like the way it was all put together made sense. And it turned out to be a good quality book, not just a mashing together of what people had written and nice editing with it. And just everything just made it so nice and smooth and turned out a good quality book. So that alleviated my fear of like what we were going to actually have in the end.
Yeah, you put some really nice guardrails on it and created a structure for the book ahead of time and doing all these things that I wouldn't have known to have done so that and trained the each of the authors how to write their chapter, um, had a training on how to promote it, doing all these things that made it a good quality book and enough feedback for them to tune up the things that were a little bit need a little tune up.
A little rough.
So, so you bringing your book knowledge and your knowledge of how what readers actually need was hugely valuable because what a reader needs reading a book is different than me as a course creator figuring out what a student needs when they go through the course. So yeah, we're just totally taken care of.
All right, so I'm going to brag on you guys. And I'm going to use it really as a way of helping any other expert who would consider writing an anthology, a co-authored book, to better understand the process. Because we all talk about, like if you write a co-authored book, it's so much easier because it's not you writing, all of the content. You've got people sending you content. And there's a very real fear of people sending you garbage and then you're not sure how to handle that or how to fix it or what you're going to do, right? Like there are some pitfalls for the unwary. But some of the things that you guys do really, really well that makes this project work really well for your community and will continue to work well if you should ever put out another opportunity to join into one of your parenting anthologies is you are incredibly kind and clear to your community, your excellent communicators with people who have a whole different way of processing. So I would say there are probably 10 different processing types. And your ability to move from one processing type to the other kindly and effectively is so on task. Like that clear communication, because when you're talking to a big group of people, you can say one thing and it's being interpreted at least 20 different ways. And so your ability to break it down almost step by step for somebody who thinks vastly different than you, I think made this process go so smoothly. The ability to manage, we had like 60 authors, almost 60 authors in this anthology. All of those moving pieces, multiple drafts, multiple components, your ability to keep that stuff organized in a system was a work of art. And I also think that your heart um, and your joy of launching other people's success, of not hoarding the limelight, of not looking at people with brilliant ideas who are contributing this as competitors in the parenting field, but as allies, as cohorts, as colleagues that were worth esteem, made this book and the contribution and the community sing. And I think that that was so important, not just for the compilation of this, because yes, we've got experts that can make things, fix things, and communicate with individuals. But when it came time to promote this book and to launch this book into bestseller status, that care that you took, that clear communication, that obvious interest in other people's success post book launch so inspired people to promote this book, to market this book. And I'm talking 6 weeks out, where a lot of people don't even understand that you have to market and promote 6 weeks out. They were so in it to win it, so supportive of each other, sharing each other's content, communicating back and forth, that when this book came out, this book sold off the freaking charts. Like people outside in the industry were like, whoa, what is this happily family book? And that instant success garnered so much attention that, like my team, our heads were spinning behind the scenes. And I don't know that that's a given without those characteristics that you two brought to the table. You guys were astounding with your community.
Well, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
means a ton. I gotta say, like, hats off to Jason for organizing and like implementing all of the tech stuff behind the scenes. It's probably a very underappreciated part of and an invisible part of our business. Um, so thank you for that. And that, to your point, that level of like support and collaboration and let's lift everyone up has been baked into Happily Family from the very beginning. That was one of the points of us doing summits, is that we know that we are not the holders of knowledge and wisdom, that but we can bring people together and we can all share. And we have never really looked at other people as competitors, but let's collaborate together and have fun. And the more somebody else's business succeeds, the more we succeed. So that's one of the joys of the online space and how we've approached online business from the beginning. That lifting other people up and helping more parents just benefits everyone.
And I think, I'll acknowledge you in that the thing that also I think helped in people wanting to support each other and promote it and do all of that also happened because of the community that was created. And you were really key at, keeping that conversation going inside that community. Like we created the community, that's where the authors were. They communicated among themselves. We were talking about the book. We were like, there was like a place to go. And it just created this feeling of like, we're doing this together, which I think people really yearn for, especially, I think in our world, I don't know if it's true of other authors or other professionals, but especially people that are working on their own, like they're yearning for community and they often don't have the coworkers that maybe they used to have, or it's not the coworkers that understand what they're going through. And so creating that community, I think, helped in not only creating an understanding of like, this is what the book's for, is like to create community, and the way to be successful is we support each other, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to promote the book. And what has happened is that many of those people are still talking after the book has gone out, and they're supporting each other, and they're interviewing each other, and they're promoting each other, and they're like it's just continued. It's created a life of its own, and that community has continued to spin and spin, and grow in its power and its support of each other. And so I think that was something that was a little bit surprising to me. Like we knew the community was important, but I was surprised at how much they all glommed onto that and really were like wanting that for themselves and continue to use it. So.
Yeah, I was delighted to hear that they formed like their own little group and they meet, I don't know, every couple of weeks or something like that. Some of them have gotten podcast interviews, magazine interviews. One got approached by Forbes. They've been creating their own courses. They've been getting more coaching clients. Uh, just a bunch of other things have happened out of this experience. So it's been really delightful to see
Yeah.
them just step into viewing not just these tangible things of, you know, creating this product or this course or a magazine article, but also the intangible things of them relating to themselves differently, that they have something to say, that they have a mission, they have a voice, they have a message, and that the amount of credibility that also being an author can then give them when they step out on a stage and or step into a podcast and do something that feels scary, for them to know, hey, like I deserve to be here. I can start thinking of myself as a different kind of person and viewing myself differently. That's that's what happens when you get to step into the author space.
All right, because I watch some of your contributors. Like I started following them on Instagram when they were posting a lot. And I've seen some of them totally step into their game. It's almost like there was a light switch from, humble parenting person to all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I'm out here. So it's been really fun. How has this book, um, I don't know if the term is served as a gateway for you, or how has having this book out in the world served your business, served how you are being viewed in the parenting industry?
Yeah, I think there's two pieces. I think it served us in some ways, and then it served the other authors in some ways. For us, um, I think we are being viewed differently in the parenting space as just real community builders. I don't know anybody else that's done this in the community, in the parenting space, and also to do it so quickly, because it was only what, 5, 6 months from the first idea to like actual publication. Um, and yeah, so I think that's how it's helped our business. It's increased some made some different revenue streams that we didn't have before.
Yeah, I think that it really showed people that like we're here not just to put out content for parents, which is important, and that's but that we have like been around long enough that we understand how that industry works. And we're not just holding it close to our vest, but we're like sharing it. And we want people to understand and learn from this. And while we've done, 11 conferences, I think, and that's been something that is very similar in that we're lifting up other professionals and getting the word out worldwide for them. This is like a physical thing, like, and again, in the world of parenting, there's something just that is different about people view books differently, and it's true in other industries, I'm sure, but at least in ours, like all of a sudden there's like, oh, we have something physical that we're actually doing, so we're more legitimate in some way, that in doing something that we've already done, but in more of an online space. So that's been helpful. And also then being able to be seen as people that are, or as a company that's supporting professionals in their business, in being able to get their business up and going, and not just the mechanics of their business, but in like actually stepping into who they are and who they need to be a professional in the parenting world. So I think that's really helped in shifting people's perspective of us.
All right, one final question. You said it brilliantly that there is no opportune moment to write a book. And the people who are showing up in my world, they talk about it, writing a book. Sometimes they talk about it for years. Some people talk about it for decades. And some people will just say, I came up with the idea last night, here I go. What would you say to, let's say, an expert or a business owner or an entrepreneur coach who's been thinking about a book idea? If you were to give them a piece of advice, what piece of advice would that be?
Uh, Man, I think if the way I would have actually probably answered the perfect time for us to have done this book would have been years ago. I mean, it's like, so I think the thing to do is just to take that step and to start doing it, because there's so much that is afforded by having the book, for at least for us in our business. I wish we would have had this years ago, right? And we could have done this years ago. And we just had other things going on or whatever. I got lots of excuses, believe me. I've got the excuses of why we haven't done this. But for someone in their business, I think at least some of the things I looked at was, how is it going to benefit us? Because that's kind of my role in the world, in our business, is like, where is this going to take us? How is it going to benefit us? Is this just a flash in the pan thing that sounds like a good idea and something fun? Or is this something where we're going to invest the time and energy into it that's going to have a long return? And for us, it has all of that. It's got a long return. It's positioned us differently. It's given us opportunity. It created new income streams that we didn't have before. There were all these things that are like, this is perfect for our business. I wish we would have done it earlier.
So Jason gave the head answer. I'm going to give the heart answer. So I think for the person who's trying to figure out if this is the next step for them, I would say to go inside your body and to feel and to listen to that inner wisdom, that voice that we all have, that might not be the loud voice that comes first. It might be the quiet voice that comes second. And one of the difficulties is that our brain often views things outside ourselves as threats, and we often overreact to things that feel threatening that actually aren't like life-threatening. And that can come up when somebody is trying to decide, am I going to step out and occupy this bigger space and do this thing that feels scary? What might occur in your body is you might think, oh my gosh, it feels like my house is burning down and I need to run out, and a fight or flight response. When actually, what that is happening in our body is the feeling that occurs when we're excited, when our body is marshaling the strength to take that big step and to move forward and to occupy that bigger, different space to live our dreams. We often don't regret the things that we do in life. Often at the end of our life, we regret the things that we don't do. So if you are having an experience in your body that's like, oh, I'm scared and I don't know if this is going to work out, that might be the opportunity to not run away like your house is on fire, but to lean in.
Well, I think what comes up for me is the memory of us driving across country. We were driving to Colorado, and we were having some long conversations about this. And it really involved us thinking carefully about what we wanted for the business. But it was that drive across the plains. I don't know where we were, probably. We were in
I think we
Colorado
talked about
somewhere.
it for almost the entire road trip.
Yeah,
So
I wasn't going to say that part, but yeah, I mean, it was an idea that honestly that Cecilia was really excited about, and part of my role in the business as the implementer is I got to figure out how that, what things are we actually going to put into place and how are we going to do that? So sometimes I'm the no person, and sometimes I'm the one who, is like figures it out and works on putting this into place. And that was the real time when we decided whether to do it or not, was on that long road trip. And some of our best business decisions have been on long road trips. But we have a little bit of an interesting relationship, or a business, in that we have a relationship, right, as partners in the business, but also partners in marriage. And so that gets complicated sometimes in having these conversations. But it wasn't an easy decision by any means, because there was a lot that we were putting to stake for us. So I think that it was, that was the time when I think I really was having a deep memory of like when we were deciding whether we were going to do it or not.